Hello and welcome to a special Facebook Live focusing on elections. I'm WFAE reporter Alexandra Watts, and we are a few Tuesdays out from Election Day. So today we are going to answer any questions that you have about voting, whether that's absentee voting or if you're voting in person. Now, if you do have questions, please save those for the end of the conversation. We're going to have our initial discussion, then we will circle back to any questions or clarifications that the audience might have. And joining us today, we have Mecklenburg County Elections Director Michael Dickerson and Adam Ragan, who's the Elections Director for Gaston County. Welcome and thank you both for being here this afternoon. I'm sure you're both very busy.
Thank you, Alexandra.
Thank
Good
you.
to be here.
So we know that voters have plenty of questions, and I'm sure that you both are also getting a lot of questions around this time. So let's just jump right in. Let's start with absentee ballots. Absentee voting is going on right now. So starting with you, Michael Dickerson, can you talk about people who are saying they're getting multiple ballots? Can you clarify, are they getting multiple ballots or are they getting multiple ballot request forms?
Thank you. And what they're doing is getting multiple ballot request forms. I myself have received, I think, 4 at my house. My wife has received, I think, 4 also. I even had my daughters call me up and ask, "What's this?" Because they've received quite a few of them also. But there are a few groups out there that are sending them out, trying to encourage you to vote to absentee by mail. Tough part about that is a few years back, we had a little incident in Congressional District 9 where some folks were harvesting ballots. And so the General Assembly in their wisdom decided, well, let's take that list off of the public record. If you've requested an absentee ballot, that list is no longer public record. So this year, is a year that it is no longer a public record. So these groups that are sending these letters out have no way of checking to see if you've ever used the first one or the second or third or the fourth one. So they're only getting one ballot, but they're getting multiple request forms. So they can just, if they've already requested, they can just throw those away.
And Adam, are you seeing the same thing in Gaston County as well?
Same thing, yeah, exactly. And to add what Michael said, also we're seeing duplicate requests where people the voters will fill one out and then we'll send them a ballot or be in the process of sending them out, and then they'll send in multiple requests. Every time they're receiving these mailings, they're sending in a request, which we still have to do the data entry, we still have to do the processing of those. So it does take a little bit of time away from other things we could be doing. So yeah, everything we're seeing, everything Michael's seeing in Mecklenburg, he's seeing it to a bigger degree, but we're still seeing it in Gaston as well.
And can you talk about how people can request an absentee ballot by mail or by fax? And when is the last day, if someone wants to vote absentee, when is the last day they can request that ballot?
Absolutely. Yeah, the deadline to request an absentee ballot by mail is Tuesday, October the 27th by 5 p.m. As long as that request is into your County Board of Elections office, they can we'll get them a ballot out. They can do it several ways. We on both of our websites, we have a form. It's a standardized absentee ballot request form. It's a state form. They can just send that into the County Board of Elections office by fax or email or hand deliver it. But also the State Board of Elections on their website, they have a portal where you can actually go in and request a absentee ballot by mail as well.
And when is the recommended date for voters to get that absentee ballot in the mail?
Mm-hmm. The deadline is Election Day. Well, the deadline to receive in the office is by 5 p.m. on Election Day or postmarked on Election Day. I'm saying get it in as soon as you can. Usually with we've not seen any major mail delays in Gaston. I don't. Michael may be different on that, but we've not seen any major mail delays here. But mail it by October 27th. That'll ensure that it gets to our office in time.
Okay. And Michael, once the voter has filled out their ballot, there are 2 signatures. They need their own signature and they also need a witness signature. Can you talk about maybe some of the errors or common mistakes that you're seeing on the absentee ballots that are already coming in?
Sure. And keep in mind, we're looking at numbers that both Adam and I have never seen before asking for absentee ballots.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have over 160,000 that have been run through the mail stream already as far as absentee requests. Proportionally, I'm sure Adam is the same way, but about 4 times more than I would have seen in any of my biggest presidentials up to date. So what that tells me is a lot of people are asking for an absentee ballot that have never voted an absentee ballot before in their lives. So take your time with it. The General Assembly, I applaud them, passed legislation back late summer, House Bill 1169, that said we're going to do away with one of the witness requirements.
Yep.
We're going to drop it down to one witness. So that is, again, I applaud the General Assembly for that. It was near unanimous vote, bipartisan. So everybody realized that's important. Yep. So one witness, that witness has to sign their name, print their name, and print their address. So it's one process now, and it's the state spent a lot of time redesigning the envelope. They even went outside and had professional help at redesigning the envelope. So they did a great job on it. So it's a simple process, and it's easy to do. Have a witness, you sign it, the witness signs it, then you mail it back in. That's the thing. But just take your time with it. Please read your instructions. The ballot's simple enough to vote. Everybody knows how to vote the ballot, but just completing that envelope is the part where they want to make sure they are completing it with no deficiency, so that we can make sure it's fully accepted when it comes back into this office, and you have nothing to worry about at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael, there have been some lawsuits about what should happen to ballots that might be filled out incorrectly. If someone fills out their ballot incorrectly right now, what happens to that ballot?
Well, actually, if it's incorrect or deficient is what we like to call their application, it goes into a box that we have to safely secure. And our hope is today, or no later than tomorrow, a judge is supposed to rule on what we are supposed to do with those ballots at that point in time. How can we rectify those ballots? How can we either spoil them and get them back out to the voter, or accept what we can? That's what we're waiting on for the judge and the state board to come out and give us the proper direction to do with those. So again, though, it's such an easy process. I want to make sure that everybody just slows down, take your time with it, and you can easily get this done. It is a new process for a lot of people. Most of us go in and sign our name on the authorization to vote, and we vote. That's the way it's always been. That's the way I've always done it. This year, I've asked for an absentee ballot. Not so much that I plan on voting an absentee ballot, not because it's difficult, but I just wanted to see the process work, since it was such a new process this year, and it is fantastic. So we're doing everything we can to make it as simple and as easy as possible. Take your time, fill out everything complete, so we can get you taken care of.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then Adam, we are still a few Tuesdays away from the actual election day. So what happens after you mail in your ballot? What happens to it between now and election morning or election evening?
Well, our county boards of elections, we meet every Tuesday, depending on, I know mine meets at 5 o'clock on Tuesdays, and we have what we call absentee ballot board meetings, where the ballots that we've received up until that point, the board will open them, and then we will put them into a secure tabulator, and then they're basically counted. We don't release results or anything like that, but we count them, and then we secure those ballots in our office, in our secure room.
Okay. And when does the public get to know? Is that on election night when they'll know the official tally?
The first set of results, 7:30 on election night that we sent in, are all the mail-out ballot, the results from the mail-out ballots, and also the early voting sites. Those are the first batch of results that you'll see on election night.
Okay. So we are going to shift now to in-person voting. If you are just joining us, we are answering all of your questions about elections. If there is something that you missed about absentee voting, you can ask that question and we will get to it later. And this Facebook Live is also going to be available after this discussion is over. So shifting now to in-person voting and early voting. Early voting starts on the 15th, on Thursday. So that's coming right up. But before we kind of get into the basics, the step-by-steps, Adam, I'm wondering if you can talk about people who want to register to vote during early voting and what they need to do and able to register.
Absolutely, yeah. If you've missed the regular registration deadline, which was last Friday, the 9th, if you've never registered to vote before and you want to, you can do that at one of our early voting sites. We call it same day registration. You can register to vote and vote on the same day. You'll still have to fill out an application, just a regular voter application. We'll have those at the sites, and then also provide some sort of proof of residence. Something, a document, the driver's license, a utility bill, a government document, a paycheck, anything with your name and address on it that matches that voter registration application, and then you'll be good to go.
Okay. And Michael, does Mecklenburg County have enough polling places this year to accommodate social distancing?
I would certainly hope so. We are going with 50% more early voting sites than we've ever had before. We went from 22 to 33 early voting sites. Early voting in a presidential election is always our top choice for voters. You generally see about 60%, 60% will vote early. And this year, I fully suspect that we will be close to that 60% that will show up to vote early at one of our sites. And just what you're talking about is the reason why we're doing the early voting sites that we do. Most of these are large sites. We're using high school gymnasiums. We're using sort of abandoned or empty strip mall stores. We're using facilities like that we can keep everybody queued up, follow the CDC guidelines, have you lined up outside 6 feet apart, and at the same time keep our voting equipment inside 6 feet separated. So all of my poll workers will be safe, all of the voters will be safe, and you will be able to go and vote in person early at one of these sites. I know we've all been following the news the last few days of early voting kicking off in Georgia, I think in Kentucky, these places here. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of interest. And when I'm queuing you up 6 feet apart, that line's going to look that much longer. So as long as we're moving, we're happy. Our goal is to always get you in and out quicker than you run to the supermarket or to a drugstore or something of that nature. That's always been our goal as we started planning this a few months ago. How fast and how quick can we get you in the system and voting and out, and how safe can we keep you?
Absolutely.
And do you have enough poll workers both for early voting and voting on election day?
Yeah, I am very impressed with the number of people that we've had that want to work and that are working. We like Adam probably does also. We develop a database of poll workers throughout every election, and we've got a database of about 5,000 people that we have been able to draw off of. That's, hey, do you want to work? Oh yes. After this, remember this kicked off. March 3rd was our first primary. March 3rd, and about a week later, we all started hearing about COVID-19. By March the 16th, I think our county was sending all of its workers home to work from home so we could all stay safe and not have to worry about COVID and the spread. At that point in time, shortly thereafter, about April 1st of May, we sent a survey to all our poll workers and said, do you all want to work? Would you be concerned about working? 80% replied back, say, yep, we'll be there. 80% the 2,500 people that we had said, yeah, we're gonna plan to be there. So that has been great. Their response, their biggest question was, what are you going to do to keep us safe? And we tell them, well, we've got masks, we've got face shields, we've got screen guards, sneeze guards, we've got sanitizer. Hopefully we'll have these single-use pens by the time we start. We've got all of these things, the queue up, the social distancing. We're doing everything that the CDC tells us to do. And I think we can all stay safe that way. But I have been very impressed with the number of poll workers that we have. I want to come back, the excitement that the ones coming back and the new ones we have of this. And the state came up with a really impressive program called Democracy Heroes, where you could sign up if you wanted to work. I mean, I am getting email after email at the office that says, hey, I signed up, never heard back from you. I must have 8,000 to 10,000 names. So I now have a new great database that I can use for people that had originally wanted to, but I'm only hiring about 2,600 people for election day. And most of those are already set, and another, I think, 1,500 for early voting. So we've got all those people. So as you can see, the numbers are great, but we're very appreciative, and we'd love to call on them if we need. But right now we're pretty set. So it's very good. Being in counties like Gaston County or Mecklenburg County, we have a good pool of resources that we can pull from to recruit workers.
And Adam, what's the situation in Gaston County? Do you also have like an influx of poll workers or people who want to be poll workers?
We do, very like Michael said. Mecklenburg and Gaston County, we've got good pools to pull from workers from. We're going to have a surplus. I'm planning on election day having about 750, 800 people working at our polling places, and we're going to have probably 50 to 100 emergency workers that if something happens on election day or there's an issue, we can send those out to work. So yeah, we've been, the Democracy Heroes thing. We've done some other things with we partnered with our county tax department, and when tax bills went out, we sent a little slip in there to ask them if they wanted to work elections as well. So my hope is everybody's always excited about the presidential election. It's the sexy election, everything. But we have elections every year as well. And I always tell people, I always hope that they'll work multiple elections because we're always on off year elections. It's sometimes a struggle to find people who are willing to work on either on election day or during early voting. So I'm hoping a lot of the people that have this interest of working elections will stay with us for many years to come.
And Adam, I know a lot of poll workers tend to be elderly, so I'm wondering, has there been a shift in the demographics of people who are going to be poll workers or who want to be for this election?
Somewhat, yeah. And Michael mentioned his survey. We did a similar thing. It was about 80%, 85% that wanted to come back as well. Our average age of poll workers is in the mid to upper 60s. We're probably about 67, 68 is our average age, but a lot of them they wanted to come back. They were when we explained what the precautions were taken with the sanitizer, the barrier shields, the masks. We're requiring all of our workers to wear masks and face shields. So I think they were comfortable with the precautions we were taking. So I think that made them more willing to come back.
Okay. And Michael, I want to cover what voting is actually going to look like as people social distance, but for early voting, which starts October 15th, and then on election day, which is November 3rd. So for voters who are going to be going in person to the polls, are they going to be 6 feet apart from the other people in line? Are they going to be sharing pens? Will masks be available for them if they don't have one themselves? Just kind of what is that day going to look like, or what are these voting days going to look like?
Sure. The first thing you're going to find is that that you're right. We will be queuing you up outside. I think, like I said, the CDC recommends, and North Carolina Health and Human Services recommend that you queue people up outside so that it's more of an airborne concern. So let's keep everybody safe as we can outside. So that's the first thing you're going to notice. The other thing you're going to notice is the fact that there's a 50-foot barrier around the entrance of that voting location where there is no campaigning allowed. So nobody can put up a sign 50 feet within the entrance of that early voting site, or nobody can put up can campaign in person in front of there. And that's the other thing that I want to make sure everybody's respectful of is that we all try to maintain 6 feet social distance anywhere we go now. I don't think we necessarily need a piece of tape or a circle on the floor. We all naturally now are saying, if I'm standing there, we're 6 feet apart, and I back up to 6 feet from that person. We will have markers down. We will have a tape down to know where 6 feet is. So that's going to be the first thing you see. Once you get in, you're right. As Adam mentioned, you're going to see sneeze guards in front of the people that are voting, are talking to the workers. You're going to look you up in a poll book. If it's early voting, I'm going to check you in on the system. And keep in mind, you're not going to be sitting next to somebody. Those people are now going to be spread out 6 feet. So you won't have as many people crammed into one spot. If we all keep our 6 feet social distance, wear a mask, and the worker be in face shields and all of this sort of stuff, then you're going to be ready to see that we're all trying to keep everybody safe. Once you check in, we're hoping, and Adam and I were talking about this before, the state has purchased single-use pens, and for Mecklenburg County, it's a pen with a stylus on the end of it. The state has purchased those for us. We're hoping that they will arrive by tomorrow so we can get those out to our early voting sites. But if not, we'll make sure we sanitize the equipment always. Sanitize, but most people I've seen too now, if you go somewhere, if you're like me, I bring my own pen. Everything I do now has my own pen. I've noticed that everything now you have your own, so nobody touches it. But hopefully we'll have that. Once you get past the check-in station or a poll book station on election day, you will be guided to a voting panel. A ballot marking device is what we use here in Mecklenburg County. And that ballot marking device will have your ballot on. And you will insert a piece of paper, pull up your ballot, and you will vote that ballot on that ballot marking device. It's a great system. We used it for the first time in the March primary. Worked out well. It's the same tabulator that I think 96 or 95 of the counties around the state actually already use. So we're happy with that. They have tested well. We've got them all ready to go. But then after you finish that, you're going to also see that there are hand sanitizer pump stations around that you will be able to walk up, sanitize your hand, just like you do if you go to a nursery, or if you go to a grocery store. There's always a hand pump, a sanitizer, and there's going to be somebody wiping down everything so that we keep everybody safe, and that you're not worried about catching a COVID-19 when you go there. The other thing to do too is what we're asking people to do, obviously, is wear the mask. But if you are not feeling well, and if you're experiencing symptoms of COVID-19, please don't come in. Please stay in your car, and we'll have somebody assist you and vote you a curbside ballot if you are experiencing those symptoms, so that you do not contaminate, or you do not put in harm's way your neighbors that'll be working at these early voting sites or at these election day polling stations. You respect everybody there, and we'll keep everybody safe. Then after that, after you've sanitized your hands and you walk out the door, somebody's going to turn around after you walked out, and they're going to wipe that door down that you just touched as your last contact point. So we are going to try to keep everything as clean and as safe as possible. We have great poll workers already trained, ready to go, and we're kind of frankly getting excited.
Exactly.
This kicking off Thursday on the 15th at 8 o'clock is a combination of a lot of work that both I know Adam and his fine team have put in, but my team has put in to get all of these sites. It's also a testament to our boards. Let's not forget that. Adam and I did not choose these sites. Adam and I presented sites to the board, our local boards that run us, and our boards unanimously agreed that these are the sites that you will use, and understood the things that we're talking about now, understood the fact that we're in a pandemic, that we need more sites rather than fewer sites. We need larger sites, Michael, so that you can keep everybody safe. And that was decided back in July, and I applaud our local boards for doing that, and the state and the county for funding of our operations. It is a unified process to make sure that we have everybody out there and voting. Sure, Adam and I get to stand up and say these are all the things we're doing, but there's a lot of work in the background, and I'm sure Adam does more than I, because he's a smart guy. But it is there's a lot of work going on in the backgrounds to make sure that we have all these voters taken care of and taken care of safely.
And Adam, can voters in Gaston County expect the same thing?
Very similar thing, yeah. And to kind of reiterate what Michael said, this is our in the elections administration field. This is our Super Bowl. This is the Super Bowl and the World Cup combined. Presidential general elections are always busy. They're always there's always going to be some craziness associated with that. But yeah, very similar situations. We're going to have hand sanitizing stations. We're going to keep our sites as clean and as healthy as we possibly can. We have booths. Michael mentioned voting panels in Mecklenburg County. We have paper ballots and booths in Gaston County. So once a voter walks away from that booth, we're going to have a worker go behind them and wipe that down. So it's going to be a very similar process. But like I said, like Michael said, you're going to see lines. It's going to look different. If even to what we saw in March, you're going to have lines, but they're going to move fast. We always say, if I can get you in and out in 30 minutes, that's success. I've got a lot of workers who've done this before. They're very familiar with how early voting works. So I think we're ready. We're as ready as we can be. Things are going to happen. Situations are going to happen. But I think for the most part, our sites are going to be as clean and as sanitized as they possibly can.
All right. And staying on the topic of safety, Adam, what should a voter do if they feel like their safety is threatened if they're in line to vote or if they're voting?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and Michael mentioned the buffer zone. There's a 50-foot buffer zone from the voting entrance at all polling places that you can't have campaigners or anyone inside that buffer zone unless they're supposed to be there. If it's outside there, if you feel threatened or something, let the chief judge know or let the site supervisor know at the site. And then they can call the Board of Elections office or law enforcement. All of our law enforcement agencies in Gaston County, the sheriff's office and the county police and all the local police departments, they know that there's an election coming. They know when early voting. They know the early voting sites. They're on standby. So if anything happens, they're ready. They're ready to proceed. We're not going to have. You're not going to have armed deputies or police at the polling places, but they're going to be close by. They're ready for any action.
And Michael, what are your plans for Mecklenburg County?
Same thing as Adam had mentioned. We tell everybody in their training that is their job to keep all sites open and unobstructed. That is the duty of the chief judge, and that is the duty of the site supervisor coordinator, open and unobstructed. And we tell them that if they feel threatened, their first recourse is always 911. And we have an emergency operations center here in Mecklenburg County that's fully ready to go, fully aware of our elections, our sites, and our dates that we will be voting. But as Ragan or as Adam mentioned, we're not stationing police or armed sheriffs or officials. No. That is not the case. They are around. They will be there if we need to be, and they will respond in a good fashion. But it is their job to keep it open and unobstructed, and especially in this COVID-19. Again, I'm staying 6 feet apart. I don't know how it is in Gaston, but I used to have tons of people that would always be standing outside the early voting sites and handing out a flyer that says vote for Joe or vote for John or vote for whatever. They would be handing out flyers that would say that. Personally speaking, right now, I don't touch anything else that anybody else hands me. We are all in that mode. The good thing and the bad thing about this is that we have had, the bad thing is that we're still in this pandemic, but the good thing is Adam and I have had the opportunity to watch our colleagues across the country administer second primaries or primaries and see what is the best way to handle things. And we have come to the conclusion, yeah, we do have this. We have figured this out. There will be hiccups. There'll be glitches at start. It always does. I remember back the first time, and this takes you back 20 years ago when we first did early voting in North Carolina. It was the first year we did it. We did about 58,000 people early. That was it. That was all we were able to do. And I remember we only had 6 sites open. But every time that started at 10 o'clock in the morning, and every time we fired up the computers at 10 o'clock, all the sites would go down. So there was no way we could log everybody in. It was, I'm not forecasting anything for this election, but for the first week, it was a 2-week process. First week, all the sites would go down every day, and we kept troubleshooting. Come to find out, there was a router I think up in Greensboro, that we were using their router that connected to a library. Somehow, every time it got stressed, it would cut down and opening up 6 sites. We fully expected that. But you fast forward to 2016, where we voted over 285,000 people early. So the desire to vote early is there. The growth is there. And that's what we have noticed, that we will work through anything that comes up. We are not concerned about that. We have great staffs on hand. We have great support throughout our counties that are on hand that will provide for us and make sure we have this going. Just the fact that we're using all these high schools this year in Mecklenburg County, they're not being used. It's a great opportunity for us to keep everybody safe.
Okay. And Adam, can you talk a little bit about poll watchers? Who is actually authorized to be in the same place where voters are casting their ballots?
We don't call them poll watchers in North Carolina. I guess the statutory term is poll observers. But each county executive committee, the Republican committee in Gaston County and the Democrat committee, they can appoint observers that can be inside the polling places and observe. That's the only thing they can do. They can't interact with workers. They can't interact with voters. Nothing like that. They can observe. Only a certain number can be in it at a certain time. And there are some that are site specific, but and then there's another group that's at large, so they can go anywhere to observe. But they have to be appointed by the county executive committees and also the state committees. The state committees, I think and Michael may correct me if I think there's 100. They can appoint 100 at large observers. The statewide, and we received their list the other day. So yeah, I mean, they if you're not authorized to be in that polling place, if you're not in the process of voting, if you're not a worker, if you're not a staff member from the county elections office, or a poll observer, you can't be in there. You can't just hang out and see what's going on and try to scare voters or anything like that. You have to. We keep very tight reins on who can be inside that polling place. So.
Okay. And we are going to take some questions from the audience soon. But before we do that, a question for both of you. I'm going to start with you, Michael. What is your biggest concern for this election? Is there something that just kind of keeps you up at night between now and election day?
Keep me up at night would imply I have sleep. But the volume that we have is the toughest thing. That is something we have. But to be honest with you, what keeps me up at night is the unknown. The unknown of we know we've got the election process, but the unknown being the pandemic. What can I do? Like I said, March the 16th, I think our county decided to close all county offices except for essential personnel and send everybody to work from home. We sent everybody from this office home. Myself and 3 others, I think, stayed. So the rest of the staff went home and worked from home. We had staff here that could do the work, scan in the work during the day so that staff could work. The full-time staff could work from home. So we did that, and my mission has been to make sure my staff stay safe and healthy. And knock on wood, we're able to maintain that. But that sort of thing, I want to make sure all my polling sites stay safe. My poll workers, my early voting workers, these are great people. I know Adam could probably say the same, but these people have come back and done it time after time. This is not their first presidential. This is not their first time they've ever tried to do this for most of them. And they have been great. I want to keep them safe. And of course, the voters, we want to keep them safe for putting their trust in us to make sure we have a good, safe process. How can we provide for them? And we ask them for just a little cooperation on their own part. Wear a mask, keep 6 feet apart. And if we do all these things, I think we will all get through this a lot quicker and better. And we'll definitely get through the election and have results. An election's great, but if Adam and I can't produce results, there's no fun. Sure. There's no excitement to that. And as Adam mentioned, we had the mechanics in place to have all this done starting at 7:30 on election night. And I don't know about you, Adam, but I fully expect by the time we go to bed on election night, we'll have 99% of our numbers out there. 99% will be reporting. So we won't be like some of the other states from our colleagues across the country.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And Adam, same question for you. Is there a main concern or something that kind of keeps you up at night as we get closer and closer to election day?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, this is our Super Bowl. I don't sleep a lot, so I mean, there's a lot of things that I think like Michael said, the health and safety of our workers. They are a great group of people, and we want to keep them as safe and as healthy as possible. My staff, I want to keep them as healthy as possible, but also the voters. I mean, that's if we can have all these sites and have all this operation and everything, but if we've missed something, and that's kind of what keeps me up. I think of the unknown. I think of, okay, what have I missed? I have if you look at my office right now, I've got notepads and upon notepads of notes of things that have to happen and things that we do. I want to make sure that my staff, that myself especially, that we don't miss anything. That if a site needs something, we're gonna provide it to them. We want everybody to enjoy the voting experience. I know the nature of human nature nowadays is everything is a partisan issue and everything. But elections administration, it's not. We are as nonpartisan as it comes. We want people to vote. I think that's the most important thing. We want people to exercise that right to vote. We always joke that we're the front line of democracy, and that's 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 what we want. But I mean, I like Michael said, the unknown is what keeps me up. And you've tried to play through every possible scenario in your head of. We Michael and I have done this for a while. I've been in Gaston for almost coming up on 10 years now, 9 years. And, we've done several presidentials. We have an idea of how everything's going to play out. But again, we've never held an election in a pandemic. So, I mean, it's there is the unknown factor there that I think that's what worries us both.
All right, all right. Well, thank you both. We are going to get to some audience questions right now. If anyone is watching and they have a question, put it in the comment section and we will try it. If you are just joining us, we are joined by Michael Dickerson from Mecklenburg County and Adam Ragan from Gaston County, answering any questions that you might have about the upcoming elections. If there is something that you need clarified or even something that you missed, this Facebook Live is going to be available after this discussion is over. So circling over to the comment section, let's see. Can one of you explain what a curbside ballot is and how does that work?
I'll take that, Adam, if you want. I don't mean to jump, but if a voter is able to make it to the site in their car, but for some disability, be it sickness or some reason they can't come into the voting site to vote, then they may ask to vote from their car, what we call a curbside vote. And that allows us to go in and check their registration, bring them out a ballot, have them mark that ballot, and then bring that ballot back into the system to put it into the DS200 tabulator flow. It's designed for people who for some reason or another may not be able to make it into that polling place. It works at early voting. It works on election day the same way, the same process. We don't have vote at the curb. It's a service that if you're for some physical reason you cannot get in there. That's why I mentioned earlier, if you're exhibiting signs of COVID-19, please don't come in and contaminate anybody. You can mention to the worker there, they will have you sign an affidavit that says I cannot come into the site because of the disability, and I want to vote by curb in my car. So then somebody will go in and process. It does not necessarily move you to the front of the line. We try to work everybody in. It's not a way of gaming the system, but we try to work you in as quickly as possible so that voters, even if you can't make it there, make it all the way into the site, you can at least cast your ballot via the curb.
Okay. And Adam, this question is going to be for you. What if somebody shows up to vote and they are not wearing a mask? Are they going to be turned away?
They are not. No, we highly suggest voters do wear masks. There going to be signage there that highly suggests voters wear masks. But no, if you show up without a mask, we're still going to let you vote.
Okay, and the same is probably for Mecklenburg County as well then, correct? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
This is a question for both of you. There's been a lot of talk about election safety and voter fraud. Can both of you kind of explain what you've seen in terms of voters fraud this election?
Voter fraud is kind of an interesting term. We don't see that a lot in North Carolina. We have, and I know my wife's family's from Illinois, and they always talk about dead people voting in Illinois and things like that. But we have fairly, in North Carolina, fairly clean voter rolls. I mean, we get lists from our local register of deeds office of people. So we keep a lot of, our voter rolls are very clean. As far as voter, you don't see, I think there was a study done in 2016 in North Carolina. In-person voter fraud doesn't exist. I mean, people don't people don't go to polling places and impersonate other people and vote. I mean, it just doesn't. We've not seen it in Gaston, and I'm sure Michael in Mecklenburg. It just doesn't happen. And I'm not saying that it can't or that it won't. We just don't see it. So I mean, I know there's a lot of talk of elections, rigging elections, and things like that. And Michael attests to this. We can't. I don't know how it can be done. I mean, because there's multiple levels, precinct levels, county levels, state levels. We have so much audit and reconciliation that has to happen at every level that if I saw one of my polling places that normally votes 20% and all of a sudden they voted 70%, that's a red flag for me. I mean, we those are the things that we kind of look for. Any kind of anomaly like that, we'll look for things like that. So we don't see voter fraud, but we're looking for it. That's the thing. I mean, it's not like we're turning a blind eye to stuff. We are actually looking for any anomaly as it relates to either tabulating votes or counting votes. So.
And what about?
I'm sorry. Adam brought up a great point. As far as what we can do, I always hear, you don't make me show an ID, so I could be anybody. Yes, you could. First off, it's a felony to vote impersonating another person. And the thought of jail times is not something that would excite most people. I can imagine. The other thing is too that as Adam mentioned, we do an awful lot of list maintenance. We are preparing, we are working this data that we have, your voter registration rolls. We work it daily. We are forever getting, I got, what was in the month of August, I got some 62,000 updates to registration, cancellations, and new voters just in 1 month that the staff went through and just had to go through and figure out 62,000 pieces of registration information. So we're constantly making sure that's good. The other thing too is as Adam mentioned also is the testing. We all run tests of all of this equipment that we're sending out. We know it will work. They will reconcile at the end of the day. We even throw in a couple little quirks to our test. Instead of having it just a 1, 2, 3, 4 test, okay, now run one ballot through 3 times. Now this one for that. Turn it upside down, run it backwards, see if it's still. You do all of these things because trust me, the only thing Adam and I want to do is on the night before the election, we want to get about 3 or 4 hours of good sleep. And if we go to bed knowing that on election eve, November 2nd, if we go to bed that night and get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and get ready to come in. But if we're there and we know that the system is set up and it's going to work, then we feel confident. We're happy that it's going to work. And the voters will be appreciative of the fact that we're doing everything we can to keep it safe and secure for their votes.
Absolutely.
Okay, and the first and the last day of early voting tend to be pretty busy. For both of your counties, do you have a sense of how many people are going to be voting early?
Well, in Gaston in 2016, we did about 66,000 people voted early. We had 6 early voting sites in 4 years ago. This year, we have 7 early voting sites. I think the numbers, because we've seen a high number of mail-out ballots that have been returned and gone out in Gaston, I think the numbers will be about the same. I don't think I don't think we're going to have super high numbers. It'll be, like I said, it'll be busy. And there will be lines, and generally the first day and the last day of early voting there are always going to be lines. But if you're in line at when our polls close on that 3 o'clock or 8 o'clock, or I'm sorry 7:30 on that first night, if you're in line, you can vote. So we're gonna make sure that even if you're in line at 3 o'clock, even if we're voting people at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. We're going to make sure that you can vote. So.
And to that point, it would be very smart if if what we're trying to get people to do is plan your vote. Plan your vote right now. It is a long ballot in Mecklenburg County. I don't know about you, Adam, but we got 33 items to vote on. I've got some 13, 14, 15, maybe district judges. Most are unopposed. They're going to be on your ballot. So plan your vote. Know your ballot now. Go online, look at your sample ballot. That is the best way of finding it. If you can grab it off of there, grab your sample ballot and go with it from there. Know where you want to go to vote. Do I want to go that first day? Well, there's going to be a lot of excitement. There's going to be some rah-rah about that. But, Monday, Tuesday of the following week might not be a big day. So know when you want to go. Know where. Do I want to go to one near the house? Because you can go to any of these places. You can go vote at any of these early voting sites in Mecklenburg County for Mecklenburg County voters, and obviously for Gaston County voters over there. But if you want to know where you're going to go, plan when you want to go, and your ballot, you're just going to make it that much simpler for you. I fully suspect, Adam and I were talking before we got on, 65 to 70% is our average. Adam, I think votes a little higher than me. So I feel 67% turnout. I would venture to guess that by the time we get done with early voting and absentee by mail, 80% of the voters are going to have already voted. And you'll have about a 20% turnout on election day. I fully expect that those are the numbers. Face it, I've already approved 50,000, got another 15,000 in the meeting tonight. So I'm looking at 65,000 voters just 3 weeks before the election that have already voted. You figure you double that to 125,000 and do about 300,000 on election or early voting. Then you're going to look at, 425, and you'll be best if we can do 525 total numbers. As Adam was saying, he and I look at these numbers afterwards. We analyze things because we want to make sure we're doing it right. And being in a COVID-19, that's just going to be that X factor on how we handle everything.
And do you two think that the election is going to be called by election night?
I will say no. Nationwide, no. North Carolina, like Michael said, I think we'll probably have statewide, probably 90% of our total ballots will be counted. We still have, as long as a mail-out ballot is postmarked on election day and then received right now by the Friday after election day, as long as it's received in the office. That may change with a court ruling. But, I think we're going to have probably 90% of our ballots, 90 to 95% counted already. But you've got states like Wisconsin, Michigan, I think Pennsylvania, big states like that, that don't, they can't actually start counting these mail-out ballots until election day. So, it's going to take a while for them. Michael and I know how long it takes to, he's doing 15,000 tonight. I've got about 1,500, somewhere around that tonight. We know how long it takes to open those envelopes and process those through our tabulator. If you've got some states, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, big states, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, that are considered swing states, it's going to take them a while to count votes. So I think North Carolina will have a good idea how the races turn out in North Carolina, but nationwide, I'm not sure. I think it's going to take a few days.
And what about you, Michael?
Since Adam is looking at that half-empty glass, I am going to say it's half full. And I am going to say, I agree with him 100%. That North Carolina, I think you will have a good number. The whole thing will hinge on how fast these sites are able to open up and tally their early voting sites. You think we mentioned Pennsylvania. First thing comes to mind is Philadelphia, Allegheny County. He's at Philadelphia. What's a top 6 or 7 city in the country? How many millions? I was talking to my colleague up there a few weeks ago, and I use both Adam and I use an ES&S 850. It's called Reader. It's a high-speed reader, and I can run thousands of these through an hour, and they're great. But he said, and I've got 2 of them here in the county, and I think I'm living lavish. Mm-hmm. I think he said he had 12 or 14 or something like that. Yes. It's just the logistics, and I am sure they are smart enough to figure out all of these logistics. Mm-hmm. Those folks up there, they are just as dedicated as most everybody else is. So if you stay out of the way, let them do their job, we'll have a solution rather hopefully soon. So I hope we have an election call by the end of the night. I do want to make sure that though we want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to take care of North Carolina and do our respective bits in our county.
And why are so many absentee ballots from Black voters being returned with problems and how they're filled out? Can each of you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I personally have not done any investigation into the numbers, and I'm assuming everybody is grabbing some numbers off the state board website. One thing after the Congressional District 9 ballot harvesting incident that came up a few years ago, one thing after that is the General Assembly said, okay, all this ballot voter information is now confidential. All of those people that asked for that absentee ballot, that is confidential. You can't tell anybody. And the state went through great lengths this year to also make sure that every one of those ballots, make sure every one of those applications, absentee ballot applications that we process and send out to the voter, make sure they do not have anything that says party. It does not have anything that says race. It does not have anything that says gender. Nothing on that ballot when it comes back to me denotes anything that would say, oh, gee whiz, they're taking all the Democrats and they're not approving those, or they're taking all the Republicans and not approving. There's nothing on that would allow me to do that. So there's no information like that on that envelope. So as far as that part of it, no. Now the part that you ask yourself a question is okay, if we've got all of these ballots coming back, and if we've got for me 160,000 out in the mail stream, and the most I've ever done is 40,000. Well, you can deduce from that fact that there are 4 times that many people that have never voted an absentee ballot before at all. So those people, again, maybe understand the instructions, following the instructions, and making sure everything's done. They need to know that there is a those that are being deficient, declared deficient. Those are the ones that we've got to make sure we get something back out to them that say they have to do this. You've got to take care of this, because I tell you, we've gone through all the work to get the ballot out to you. The last thing we want to do is not allow somebody the ballot to be counted. We want to count everybody's ballot. That's right. So there's not much on there to indicate anything, and I have no idea. But we want to make sure everybody follows the instructions, and hopefully we can get all those remedied if there is an issue with the judge's ruling in the next day or so.
And Adam, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. And like Michael said, we are only looking at the envelope itself. If it's missing a voter signature or the witness information, that's all we're looking at. I don't know demographics. I mean, I can't tell you race or anything. I'm like Michael said, I'm sure they're pulling this information from the state board's website and everything, but it's not an intentional thing. I mean, I can tell you that. We are just simply looking at the envelope itself, and if there's some deficiency on it, that's when we're kind of putting it to the side, putting it in a pending status or anything like that. So there's nothing and like Michael said, the label on the ballot, the absentee envelope, by mail envelope, it has no indication. It has the voter's name, an application number, generally begins CIV and then an application number. That's all we're seeing. So, we're simply, we're required by law that the one voter signature and the witness signature, that's all that's all that's required. Now, like Michael said, and we're seeing it in Gaston too, 4 to 5 times as many people have never voted by mail before. So I think we're seeing those high numbers of people that aren't familiar with the process, with the by mail process. So those are things that, and we stress the instructions. We send out a sheet of instructions, and it's a kind of a simplified instruction form. And then also on the ballot envelope itself, everything is highlighted. Everything that you have to do or you have to sign, it's highlighted. So like Michael said, I can't stress that enough. Is we want to make sure that voters clearly read the instructions and if they read the instructions, follow the instructions, then there's going to be no problem with accepting their ballot.
And it is 1 p.m., so our time is up for the afternoon. I want to thank Adam Ragan, Elections Director for Gaston County, and Mecklenburg County Elections Director Michael Dickerson. Thank you both for answering our questions today and for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you all for tuning in. If you came in late or if someone happened to miss this will be available on our Facebook page, the WFAE Facebook page. Again, thank you all for being here. I'm Alexandra Watts. This Facebook Live is part of a Report for America partnership with WFAE and the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. Early voting starts October 15th, and select library branches will also serve as early voting locations. You can find more information about that at cmlibrary.org. That's cmlibrary.org. And for the latest voting and elections information, Q&As, how-tos, you can go to our website, which is WFAE.org. That's WFAE.org. And again, thank you everybody for tuning in, and thank you both for answering our questions.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.